Sava Pahimam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Krishna book ki jai. So we're reading from Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, summary study of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. By His Divine Grace, the Boy Charanarvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This is chapter 33. Description of the Rasa dance. Thus hearing the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna speaking to pacify them, the Gopis became very pleased. They became completely relieved of all the great suffering of separation, and only by hearing the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not only by hearing the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but by also touching His hands and legs. After this, the Supreme Personality of Godhead began his rasa dance. A dance in the midst of many girls is called a rasa dance. So Krishna began to dance among the most beautiful, fortunate girls within the three worlds. The Gopis of Vrindavan were so attracted to him, danced with Krishna hand in hand. Krishna's rasa dance could never be compared to any kind of material dance, such as the ball dance or society dance. The rasa dance is a completely spiritual performance. In order to establish this fact, Krishna, the Supreme Mystic, expanded himself into as many forms and stood beside each gopi, placing his hands on the shoulders of the gopis on both sides of him. He then began to dance in their midst. The mystic expansion of Krishna were not perceived of by the gopis. Krishna appeared alone to each of them. Each gopi thought that Krishna was dancing with her alone. Above that wonderful dance flew many aeroplanes carrying the denizens of the heavenly planets, who were very eager to see the wonderful dance of Krishna with the gopis. The Gandharvas and the Kinnaras began to sing, and accompanied by their respective wives, all the Gandharvas began to shower flowers on the dancers. As the gopis and Krishna danced together very blissfully, musical sounds was produced from the tinkling of their bells, ornaments and bangles. It appeared that Krishna was a greenish sapphire locket in the midst of a golden necklace decorated with valuable stones. While Krishna and the gopis danced, they displayed extraordinary bodily features. The movements of their legs, their placing of their hands on each other, the movements of their eyebrows, their smiling, and the movements of their breasts of the gopis and their clothes and earrings, their cheeks and hair with flowers, as they sung and danced, all combined to appear just like a cloud, thunder, snow and lightning. Krishna's bodily features appeared like a group of clouds. The Gopis' songs were like thunder, and their beauty appeared just like lightning in the sky. And the drops of perspiration visible on their faces appeared like falling snow. In this way, the Gopis and Krishna fully engaged in dancing. The necklace of the Gopis became tinted with a red color due to their desire to enjoy Krishna more and more. To satisfy them, Krishna began to clap his hands in time with their singing. Actually, the whole world is full of Krishna's singing, but it is appreciated in different ways by different kinds of living entities. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Ye yata mam prapadyante tam statoeva bhajami aham. Krishna is dancing, and every living entity is also dancing. But there is a difference between the dancing in the spiritual world and that in the material world. This is expressed by the author of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, who says that the Master is Krishna, the Master is Krishna, and everyone else is his servant. Everyone is trying to imitate Krishna's dancing. Those who are actually in Krishna consciousness respond rightly to the dancing of Krishna. They do not try to dance independently, but those in the material world are trying to imitate Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The living entities are dancing under the direction of Krishna's Maya and are thinking that they are equal to Krishna. But this is not a fact. In Krishna consciousness, this misconception is absent, for persons in Krishna consciousness know that Krishna is the Supreme Master and everyone else is his servant. One has to dance to please Krishna, not to imitate or attempt to become equal to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Gopis wanted to please Krishna, and therefore, as Krishna sang, they responded and encouraged him by saying, "Well done, well done." Sometimes they presented beautiful music for his pleasure, and he responded by praising their singing. When some of the Gopis became very tired from dancing and moving their bodies, they placed their hands on the shoulders of Sri Krishna. Then their hair loosened and the flowers fell to the ground. When they placed their hands on Krishna's shoulders, they also became overwhelmed by the fragrance of his body, which emanated from the lotus, other aromatic flowers, and the pulp of sandalwood. They all became filled with attraction for him, and they began to kiss him. Some Gopis touched Krishna's cheek to cheek, and Krishna responded to them, began to offer them chewed betel nuts from his mouth, which was accepted as a great pleasure by kissing. And by accepting those betel nuts, the Gopis spiritually advanced. The Gopis became tired after long singing and dancing. Krishna was dancing beside them, and so, to alleviate their fatigue, they took Krishna's hand and placed it on their raised breasts. Krishna's hand, as well as the breasts of the Gopis, are all eternally auspicious. Therefore, when they combined, both of them became spiritually enhanced. The Gopis so enjoyed the company of Krishna, the husband of the goddess of fortune, that they forgot they had any other husband in the world. And upon being embraced by the arms of Krishna and dancing and singing with him, they forgot everything. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, thus describes the beauty of the Gopis while they were rasa dancing with Krishna. There were lotus flowers over both their ears, and their faces were decorated with sandalwood pulp. They wore tilak, and there were drops of perspiration on their smiling mouths. From their feet came the tinkling sound of ankle bells and bangles. The flowers within their hair were falling onto the lotus feet of Krishna, and he was very satisfied. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, all the Gopis are expansions of Krishna's pleasure potency. Touching their bodies with his hands and looking at their pleasing eyes, Krishna enjoyed the Gopis exactly as a child enjoys playing with a reflection of his body in a mirror. When Krishna touched the different parts of the bodies, the Gopis felt so charged with spiritual energy. They could not adjust their loosened clothes, although they tried to keep them properly adjusted. Their hair and their garments became scattered, and their ornaments loosened, and they forgot themselves in the company of Krishna. While Krishna was enjoying the company of the Gopis in the rasa dance, the astonished demigods and their wives gathered in the sky. The moon, being afflicted with a sort of lust, came to watch the dance and became stunned with wonder. The Gopis had prayed to the goddess Katyayani to have Krishna as their husband. Now Krishna was fulfilling their desires by expanding himself in as many forms as there were Gopis and enjoying with them exactly like a husband. Shukadeva Goswami has remarked that Krishna is self-sufficient. He is Atmarama. He does not need anyone else for his satisfaction. Because the Gopis wanted Krishna as their husband, he fulfilled their desire, and when Krishna saw that the Gopis were tired from dancing, he immediately began to wipe his hands over their faces so that their fatigue would become relieved. In order to reciprocate the kind hospitality of Krishna, the Gopis began to look at him lovingly. They were overjoyed by the auspicious touch of the hand of Krishna. Their smiling cheeks shone with beauty, and they began to sing the glories of Krishna with transcendental pleasure. As pure devotees, the more the Gopis enjoyed Krishna's company, the more they became enlightened with his glories, and thus they reciprocated with him. They wanted to satisfy Krishna by glorifying his transcendental pastimes. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Master of all masters, and the Gopis wanted to worship him for his unusual exhibition of mercy upon them. The Gopis and Krishna entered the waves of the Jamuna just to relieve their fatigue from the rasa dance. The lily flower garlands around the necks of the Gopis were strewn to pieces due to the Gopis embracing the body of Krishna. And the flowers were reddish from being smeared with the kumkum on their breasts. The bumblebees were humming about in order to get honey from the flowers. Krishna and the Gopis entered the water of the Jamuna, just as an elephant enters water tank with his many female companions. Both the Gopis and Krishna forgot their real identities, and relieving the fatigue of the rasa dance, the Gopis began to splash water on the body of Krishna, all the while smiling, and Krishna enjoyed this. As Krishna was taking pleasure in the joking words and splashing water, the demigods in the higher planetary systems showered flowers. The demigods thus praised the super excellent rasa dance of Krishna, the supreme enjoyer. and his pastimes with the Gopis in the water of the Jamuna. After this, Lord Krishna and the Gopis came out of the water and began to stroll along the bank of the Jamuna, where a nice breeze was blowing, carrying the aroma of different kinds of flowers over the water and land. While strolling on the bank of the Jamuna, Krishna recited various kinds of poetry, and he thus enjoyed the company of the Gopis in the soothing moonlight of autumn. Sex desire is especially excited in the autumn season, but the wonderful thing about Krishna's association is that with the Gopis there was no question of sex desire, as it was clearly stated in the Bhagavatam. In the Bhagavatam description by Shukadeva Goswami, Avarudha Shaurata, the sex impulse was completely controlled. There is no difference between Lord Krishna's dancing with the Gopis. There is a difference, there is a distinction between Lord Krishna's dancing with the Gopis and the ordinary dancing of living entities within the material world. In order to clear up further misconceptions about the rasa dance and the affairs of Krishna and the Gopis, Maharaj Parikshit, the hearer of the Srimad Bhagavatam, told Shukadeva Goswami, Krishna appeared on the earth for establishing the regulatory principles of religion and to curb the predominance of irreligion. But the behavior of Krishna and the Gopis might encourage irreligious practices, irreligious principles in the material world. I am simply surprised that he would act in such a way, enjoying the company of others' wives in the dead of night. This statement by Maharaj Parikshit was very much appreciated by the Shukadeva Goswami. The answer anticipates the abominable acts of Mayavadi impersonalists who place themselves in the position of Krishna and enjoy the company of young girls and women. The basic Vedic injunction, never allow a person to enjoy sex with any woman except one's own wife. Krishna appreciated the Gopis' appearance to be distinctly in violation of these rules. Maharaj Parikshit understood that the total situation from Shukadeva Goswami, yet to further clarify the transcendental nature of Krishna and the Gopis in the rasa dance, he expressed his surprise. This is very important in order to check the unrestricted association with women by the Prakritiya Sahajiyas. In his statement, Maharaj Parikshit has used several important words which require clarification. The first word, Jugupsitam, means abominable. The first doubt of Maharaj Parikshit was as follows: Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead who has avenged himself to establish religious principles. Why then did he mix with others' wives in the dead of night and enjoy dancing, embracing and kissing? According to the Vedic injunction, this is not allowed. Also, when the Gopis first came to him, he gave instructions to them to return to their homes, to call the wives of others persons, or young girls to enjoy dancing with them is very certainly abominable according to the Vedas. Why should Krishna have done this? Another word used here is aptakama. Some may take it as for granted that Krishna was very lusty among the young girls. But Maharaj Parikshit said that this was not possible. He could not be lusty. First of all, from the material calculation, he was only 8 years old. At that age, a boy cannot be lusty. Apita Karma means that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is self-satisfied. Even if he were lusty, he does not need to take help from others to satisfy his lusty desire. The next point is that although not lusty himself, he might have been induced by the lusty desires of the Gopis. But Maharaj Parikshit then used another word, Jadupati, which indicates that Krishna is the most exalted personality in the dynasty of the Jadus. The kings of the Jadus dynasty are considered to be the most pious, and their descendants were also like that. Having taken birth in the family, how could Krishna have been seduced even by the Gopis? It is concluded therefore that it was not possible for Krishna to do anything abominable. But Maharaj Parikshit was in a doubt as to why Krishna acted in that way. What was the real purpose? Another word Parikshit Maharaj used was, as he addressed Sukadeva Goswami, is Shuvrata, which means one who takes a vow to enact pious activities. Sukadeva Goswami was an educated brahmachari, and under the circumstance it was not possible for him to indulge in sex. This is strictly prohibited for brahmacharis. What to speak of brahmacharis like Sukadeva Goswami? But because the circumstances of the rasa dance were very suspect, Maharaj Parikshit inquired for clarification. From Sukadeva Goswami, immediately he replied that transgression of religious principles by the Supreme Controller testify to his great power. For example, fire can be consumed, can consume any abominable thing. That is the manifestation and supremacy of fire. Similarly, the sun can absorb water from an urinal or from stool, and the sun is not polluted. Rather, due to the influence of the sunshine, the polluted, contaminated place becomes disinfected and sterilized. One may also argue that since Krishna is the supreme authority, his activities should be followed. In answer to this argument, Sukadeva Goswami has very clearly said, the Ishvara, or the Supreme Controller, may sometimes violate his instructions, but this is not possible. This is possible only for the controller himself, not for the followers. Unusual and uncommon activities by the controller can never be imitated. Sukadeva Goswami warned that the conditioned followers who are not actually in control should never even imitating the uncommon activities of the controller. A Mayavadi philosopher may falsely claim to be God or Krishna, but he cannot actually act like Krishna. He can persuade his followers to falsely imitate the rasa dance, but he is unable to lift Govardhan Hill. We have many experiences in the past of the Mayavadis, especially who delude their followers by posing themselves as Krishna in order to enjoy Rasa Leela. In many instances, they were checked by the government, arrested and punished. In Orissa, Thakur Bhaktivinoda punished the so-called incarnation of Vishnu, who was imitating the Rasa dance with young girls. And there were many complaints against him, the so-called incarnation. At that time, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a magistrate, and the government deputed him to deal with the rascal, and he punished him very severely. The rasa dance cannot be imitated by anyone. Shukadeva Goswami warns that one should not even think of imitating it. He specifically mentions that if out of foolishness one tries to imitate Krishna's rasa dance, he will be killed. Just like a person who wants to imitate Lord Shiva's drinking the ocean of poison. Lord Shiva drank an ocean of poison and kept it within his throat. This made his throat turn blue. And therefore Lord Shiva is called Nilakanta. But if an ordinary person tries to imitate Lord Shiva by drinking poison, or smoking ganja, he is sure to be vanquished and will die within a very short time. Lord Sri Krishna's dealings with the Gopis occurred under special circumstances. Most of the Gopis in their previous lives were great sages, expert in the study of the Vedas, and when Lord Sri Krishna appeared as Lord Ramachandra, they wanted to enjoy with him. Lord Ramachandra gave them the benediction that their desires would be fulfilled when he would appear as Krishna, and therefore the desire of the Gopis to enjoy the appearance of Lord Krishna was long cherished. So they approached Goddess Katyayani to have Krishna as their husband. There are many other circumstances which testify to the supreme authority of Krishna and show that he is not bound by the rules and regulations of the material world. In special cases, he acts like he likes to favor his devotee. In special cases, he acts as he likes to favor his devotee. This is possible only for him because he is the supreme controller. People in general should follow the instructions of Lord Krishna as given in Bhagavad Gita, but should never even imagine imitating Lord Krishna in the rasa dance. Krishna's lifting of Govardhan hill and his killing great demons like Putana are all obviously extraordinary activities, similar to the rasa dance. Similarly, the rasa dance is also an uncommon activity and cannot be imitated by any ordinary man. An ordinary person can engage in the occupational duty like Arjuna, should become an ordinary person engaged in his occupational duty like Arjuna should execute his duty for the satisfaction of Krishna. That is within his power. Arjuna was a fighter, and Krishna wanted him to fight for his satisfaction. Arjuna agreed, although at first he was not willing to fight. Duties are required for ordinary persons. They should not jump up and try to imitate Krishna and indulge in the Ras Leela, and thus bring about their ruin. One should know with certainty that Krishna had no personal interest in whatever he did for the benefit of the Gopis. It's stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Namam Kramani Limpati, Krishna never enjoys or suffers the results of his activities. Therefore, it is not possible for him to act irreligiously. He is transcendental to all religious duties and principles. He is untouched by the modes of material nature. He is the supreme controller of all living entities, whether in human society, in demigod society, or in the heavenly planets, or in its lower forms of life. And he is also the supreme controller of material nature. Therefore, he has nothing to do with the religious or irreligious principles. Sukadeva Goswami further concludes that great sages and demigods who are washed clean of all conditioned life can move freely within the contamination of material nature. By keeping Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, within their hearts, in this way, they also do not become subjected to the laws of pleasure and pain in the modes of material nature. How then is it possible for Krishna, who appears by his own internal potency, to be subject to the laws of karma? In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord clearly says that whenever he appears, he does so by his internal potency. He is not forced to accept a body by the laws of karma, like an ordinary living entity. Every other living entity is forced to accept a certain type of body by previous activities. But when Krishna appears, he always appears in a body that is not forced upon him by the action of by the action of his past deeds. His body is a vehicle for his transcendental pleasure pastimes, which are enacted by his internal potency. He has no obligation to the laws of karma. The Mayavadi monists must accept certain type of body, being forced by the laws of nature. Therefore, the claim to be one with Krishna or God is only a theoretical. Such persons who claim to be equal with Krishna and indulge in Rasa Leela create a dangerous situation for the people in general. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was already present as a super soul within the bodies of the Gopis and their husbands. He is the guide of all living entities, as is confirmed in the Katha Upanishad, Nityo Nityanam Sritanam Sritanam. The super soul directs the individual soul to act, and the super soul is the actor and witness for all action. It's confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna is present in everyone's heart, and from him all knowledge, remembrance and forgetfulness is coming. He is the original personality to be known by the Vedic knowledge. He is the author of the Vedanta philosophy, and he knows the Vedanta philosophy perfectly well. The so-called Vedantists and Mayavadis cannot understand Krishna as he is. They simply mislead their followers by imitating the actions of Krishna in an unauthorized way. Krishna, the super soul of everything, of everyone, is already within the body of everyone. Therefore, if he sees someone or embraces someone, there is no question of impriority. Some may ask, if Krishna is self-sufficient, then why did he at all manifest pastimes with all the Gopis, which are disturbing to the so-called moralists of this world? The answer is that such activities show special mercy to the fallen conditioned souls. The Gopis are expansions of his internal energy, but because Krishna wanted to exhibit the Rasa Leela, they appeared as ordinary human beings. In the material world, pleasure is ultimately manifest in the sex attraction between man and woman. The man lives simply to be attracted by a woman, and a woman lives simply to be attracted by men. That is the basic principle of material life. As soon as these attractions and combination, as soon as these attractions are combined, people become more and more implicated in material existence. In order to show them special favor, Krishna exhibits this Rasa Leela dance. It is just to captivate the conditioned souls, since they are very much attracted by sex. They can enjoy the same life with Krishna and thus become liberated from material contamination. In the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Maharaj Parikshit also explains that the pastimes and activities of Lord Krishna are medicine for the conditioned souls. If they simply hear about Krishna, they become relieved from all material diseases. They are addicted to material enjoyment and are accustomed to reading sex literatures. But by hearing these transcendental pastimes of Krishna with the Gopis, they will be relieved of all material contamination. How they should hear from and whom is also explained by Shukadeva Goswami. The difficulty is that the whole world is full of Mayavadis, and when they become professional reciters of Srimad Bhagavatam, and when people, without knowing the effect of Mayavad philosophy, hear from such persons, they become confused. Discussion of the Ras Leela amongst people in general is not recommended because they are attracted by the Mayavad philosophy. But if one who is advanced explains and people hear from him, certainly the hearer will be benefited and gradually elevated to the position of Krishna consciousness and liberated from materially contaminated life. Another important point is that none of the Gopis who danced with Krishna were in their material bodies. They danced with Krishna in their spiritual bodies. All their husbands thought that their wives were sleeping by their sides. The so-called husbands of the Gopis were already enamored with the influence of the external energy of Krishna. So by dint of that energy, they could not understand that their wives had gone to dance with Krishna. What then is the basis of accusing Krishna of dancing with other wives? The bodies of the Gopis, which were their husbands, were lying in the bed, but the spiritual parts and parcels of Krishna were dancing with him. Krishna is the Supreme Person, the whole Spirit, and he danced with the spiritual bodies of the Gopis, and therefore there is therefore no reason to accuse Krishna in any way. After the Rasa dance was over, the night of Brahma, a very long time, a very long period is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. It turned into the Brahma Muhurta. The Brahma Muhurta takes place about 1.5 hours before sunrise. It is recommended that one should rise from bed at that time, and after finishing daily ablutions, should take to spiritual activities by performing Mangalarati and chanting Hare Krishna, the Hare Krishna mantra. This period is very convenient for the execution of spiritual activities. When that auspicious moment arrived, Krishna asked the Gopis to leave. Although his beloved were not willing to quit his company, they were very obedient to him, and as soon as Krishna asked them to go home, they immediately left and returned home. Sukadeva Goswami concludes this episode of the Rasa Leela by pointing out that if a person hears from the right sources about the pastimes of Krishna, who is Vishnu himself, and the Gopis, who are expansions of his energy, then he will be revealed. Then he will be relieved of the most dangerous type of darkness, namely lust. In other words, one who actually hears the Rasa Leela will become completely free from the lusty desire of sex life and elevated to the highest position of spiritual understanding. Generally, because they hear the Rasa dance from Mayavadis, and they themselves are Mayavadis, people become more and more implicated in sex life. The conditioned soul should hear the Rasa Leela dance from authorized spiritual master and be trained by him so he can understand the whole situation. Thus one can be elevated to the highest standard of spiritual life. Otherwise one will be implicated in material lust. Material lust is a kind of heart disease, and to cure the disease of the material heart of the conditioned soul, is recommended that one should hear, but not from the impersonalist rascals. If one hears from the right source with the right understanding, then his situation will be different. Sukadeva Goswami has used the words Shraddhanvitaha for one who is trained in spiritual life. Shraddha or faith is the beginning. One who has developed faith in Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Spirit Soul, can both describe and hear the Rasa Leela. Shukadeva also uses the word Anusrinat. One must hear about the disciplic succession. Anu means following, and Anu means always. So one must always follow the disciplic succession and not hear from any stray professional reciter, whether a Mayavadi or an ordinary man. Anusrinuyat means that one must hear from authorized persons who is in the disciplic succession and is always engaged in Krishna consciousness. When a person hears the Rasa Leela in this way, the effect will be sure, and he will be elevated to the highest position of spiritual life. Sukadeva Goswami uses two specific words, Bhaktim and Param. Bhaktim Param means execution of devotional service above the neophyte stage. Those who are simply attracted to temple worship but do not know the philosophy of bhakti are in the neophyte stage. That sort of bhakti is not perfectional stage. The perfectional stage of bhakti or devotional service is completely freed from material contamination. The most dangerous aspect of contamination is lust or sex life. Bhaktim Param, devotional service, is so potent that the more one advances in this line, the more one loses his attraction for material life. One who is actually deriving benefit from hearing the Rasa Leela dance surely achieves the transcendental position. He surely loses all of his traces of lust in his heart. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that according to the Bhagavad Gita, Brahma's day and Brahma's night are periods of solar years expanding to 4,300,000 multiplied by 1,000. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the Rasa dance was performed during the long period of Brahma's night. But the Gopis could not understand that. In order to fulfill the desire of Krishna, it extended the night to cover such great period of time. One may ask how this was possible, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur reminds us that Krishna, although bound by a small rope, could show his mouth the whole universe within his mouth. How is this possible? The answer is that he can do anything for the pleasure of his devotees. Similarly, because the devotees wanted to enjoy Krishna, they were given the opportunity to associate with him for a long period. This was done according to his promise. When Krishna stole the garments of the Gopis while they were taking bath in the Chirgat on the Jamuna, he promised to fulfill their desires in some future night. In one night, therefore, they enjoyed the company of Krishna as their beloved husband. But the night was not an ordinary night. It was the night of Brahma, and lasted millions and millions of years. Everything is possible for Krishna, for he is the supreme controller. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport, 3rd chapter of Krishna. Description of the Rasa dance. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Krishna wanted to enjoy the Ras dance with all of his devotee girlfriends. That was expressed after lifting Govardhan Hill, but Krishna had to wait 1 year. So he was 8 years old and he enjoyed the Rasa dance. But Prabhupada said last is not possible that when you're only 8 years old. But Krishna, he ages 1.5 times more than anyone else. That is one of the features of Krishna. And so because Krishna was really looking forward to this rasa dance and fulfill all the desires of the gopis, that it was so great that he extended the night to a night of Brahma. It wasn't just one ordinary night. So it's similar to Chankaji, when Chankaji tried to stop the Sankirtan movement, then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all the devotees and everyone, they got everybody from all the neighboring towns and villages. Thousands of people were coming to march to the Chankaji. And this was the first time that the Sankirtan mission had gone out in the street. Previously it was always in Sri Vashi's courtyard, Shukambala Brahmachari's house, or different few houses, Chandrasekharacharya. But it had only been confined just to inside the devotees' houses. But when he took advantage of the Chankazis trying to stop the Sankirtan mission, then Lord Chaitanya, he rallied and raised thousands of people who took flaming torches, and they marched upon the Chankazis' house, and they were simply chanting Hare Krishna and dancing and playing musical instruments. And it was such a wonderful feature. This is why the Lord appeared, to spread the Yuga Dharma of chanting Hare Krishna through the Sankirtan mission. So Lord Chaitanya was so happy that now he has an opportunity to exhibit the Sankirtan mission outside of Srivashi's house or devotees' houses. So then this was open to everyone. Anyone and everyone could take part in this Prem Sankirtan. And because Lord Chaitanya was so happy by his desire, he expanded the whole night into a night of Brahma. Long dance. Yeah, so Krishna, he was only 8 years old when he performed the rasa dance. There is a question. Chandan Agarika. HK Prabhu, Dhanyavad, Pranam. Who is a Mayavadi? I am meaning of Mayavadi, atheist. Is meaning of Mayavadi and atheist the same? How to understand who is Mayavadi? Why one should not hear about Krishna from Mayavad? Maya means the external energy of the Lord, the deluding potency, who has got this whole world bound up. and thinking that I am this body, and I am the enjoyer of this body, and I am the enjoyer of the material world. So Mayavadi, he wants to become Krishna. That is the disease of the material world, Bhava Roga. Everybody here wants to be the enjoyer. They want to enjoy the material world, enjoy their senses, enjoying the objects of the senses in the material world. But who is the actual enjoyer of this material world? Bhoktaram Jagata Pasham Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Krishna, he said, I am Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. I am of all the planets, of all the universes. I am the enjoyer of all these planets. But Mayavadi, he thinks that I can become Krishna, then I can be the supreme enjoyer. Although they cannot show it. Prabhupada used the example. They can say, yes, I can enjoy Ras dance, but they can't lift Govardhan Hill. And they can only dance with a few at a time. No, they can't dance with millions, billions of gopis actually. Anyway, the philosophy is that Aham Brahmasmi, this is their main slogan, I am spirit. They don't go further than that. They just, I am spirit, I am Brahman. But beyond Brahman is the Paramatma, and beyond Paramatma is Param Brahman, the Bhagavan. So Brahman realization is only 1/3. It's a realization of the Lord's presence. His presence is Brahman. It's just a transcendental nature, Turiya. Fifth dimension. We have a fourth dimension. We have 3 dimensions we can perceive in this world, but there is another dimension called Turiya, or transcendental. So they want to get in this transcendental Brahman atmosphere, or Brahma Jyoti, the light from the body of the Lord. So therefore they say the Lord has no form, he is just he's just Brahman, he is feeling, he is. So they want to be like that. It's a fact. Aham Brahmasmi, all the living entities are Brahman. Krishna says they're all Brahman. They're coming from him. That's a fact. But Krishna is the Para-Brahman. But Mayavadis only go up to the first step. I am Brahmani, Aham Brahmasmi. That's okay, but you can go further. There is the Super Soul, and beyond the Super Soul is Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Brahmani is an example Prabhupada gives us, that when you're in the distance there is a mountain, but you can't see. You can just see something hazy in the distance. As you get closer, you can see it's a hill and there are some roads and things. And as you get right to that village or city, you'll see there are people moving around, there are cars, there are activities going on. So by 3 different persons have 3 different perceptions. Some as some hazy, some as a mountain, and some as a flourishing city. But it's according to the vision of the person who is perceiving the sense objects. So why Mayavadi Mahaprabhu was so against Mayavadi hoy aparati hoy. There's no greater offender to Krishna's lotus feet than the Mayavadi philosophy. Because they say Krishna, he has no arms, he has no legs, he has no head, he has no face, And the devotees protest. Look, just see, he's trying to kill Krishna. He says Krishna has no head, no arms, no eyes. He's trying to kill Krishna. Mahaprabhu said the same thing actually. Prakashananda Saraswati Thakur, he was the leader of all the sannyasi Mayavadis in Benares at that time, during Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's period. And he says, God has he's saying the same thing. God has no head, he has no face, he has no eyes, he has no legs, he cannot. But the Upanishads teach us differently. He has legs, but he can walk faster than. He has no legs, he can walk faster than. He has no arms, but he can reach anything from anywhere. So the conclusion is he must have legs, he must have arms, he must have a head. But he says he has no head and arm, but it means he has no material legs, no material eyes, no material ears. Everything he has is transcendental. So but they try to cut Krishna to pieces. So Mahaprabhu was saying about the Mayavadi, he said, that big Mayavadi there in Benares, that Prakashananda Saraswati Thakur, he is tearing me apart. He is saying I have no fingers, I have no toes, I have no head, I have no leg. He's simply tearing me apart. So therefore anyone who takes an understanding of this Mayavad philosophy, he becomes doomed. Because basically in this material world we want to be the enjoyers. That's why we're here. That's why Krishna created this universe, simply for our enjoyment. Because we cannot create a universe for our enjoyment. So Krishna, even though we're inimical towards him, still he creates a universe where we can go and imitate Krishna to be the enjoyers. That is Krishna's greatness. Even though we're envious of Krishna, still he will facilitate our desire for enjoyment. So that's the disease of this material world. Everybody wants to be the controller and everybody wants to be the enjoyer. Shuridam Sarva Bhutanam. Krishna says, I am the friend of everyone. So this philosophy, you're cutting all the limbs of God. There is no God. Prabhupada used to give the example of Dr. Radhakishan. He was a politician in India, maybe a president at one time. And he wrote one commentary on Bhagavad Gita. And he said, when Krishna says, Man mana bhava mad bhakto, always remember, think of me, become my devotee, worship me. You will come to me, sarvadhanam parityaja, just give up everything and surrender unto me. I will reward you, don't worry. When Krishna is saying this, when he says, always remember me, surrender to me, this politician said, it's not to Krishna the person you surrender to, but the unborn, eternal, within, that is Krishna. The unborn, eternal within is Krishna, not the form that he manifested outside. So in other words, he's taken away the living entity's natural love for Krishna by destroying. Because love means two. I love you, you love me. Love cannot be one. But the Mayavad philosophy takes away this, destroys this aspect of two. There can only be one. So therefore there is no love. So Mayavadis are destroying our love for Krishna. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in Calcutta, he was walking with his disciples and they said, look, Guru Maharaj coming the other side. He is one big Mayavadi, he's preaching Mayavad in Calcutta. Bhaktisiddhanta was angry. He crossed over the road and faced that man and slapped him round the face. Why you are teaching this philosophy that denies the living entity's eternal love for Krishna? So this is Mayavad philosophy. It destroys your love for Krishna by saying there is only one. And who is that only one? That is me. So very, very dangerous philosophy. Because understanding the reason why we're here in the material world is we want to be the enjoyers. We want to imitate Krishna. So it's very easy to fall prey to this philosophy which says, yes, I can make you the supreme enjoyer, the supreme controller. I can make you Brahman, I can make you God. Oh, that's what I wanted, the living entity. Oh, that's why I came in the material world. So it destroys the living entity's loving propensity for God. In other words, it destroys the bhakti. There is no bhakti. Bhakti means two. But this philosophy of Mayavada, it destroys any duality there. So therefore it's the most dangerous type of philosophy, because it will destroy your bhakti forever. So therefore we shouldn't hear from Mayavadi. We should hear from Krishna's devotees. Here's another question. Milan Madhav Das, Haribol. Accept my pranam. I thought lust was a perverted reflection of love in the spiritual world. Very good. But Srila Prabhupada writes here, spiritual lust. Can you explain what is spiritual lust? Yeah, that's what you said in the beginning. I thought lust was a perverted reflection of love in the spiritual world. But Prabhupada writes here, spiritual lust. Can you please explain what is spiritual lust? Yeah, so lust is there. Krishna and the Gopis are attracted to each other. So the reason lust is in this material world is because it's in the spiritual world. If there was no lust in the spiritual world, there would be no lust here. That's love in the spiritual world. That's and the reflection, as you say, the perverted reflection, it reflects in the material world as lust. So what is the highest thing in the spiritual world? Love becomes, when it's reflected in the material world, it becomes the lowest thing, lust. The all-devouring sinful enemy of this world, thus. The great destroyer of self-realization. So, it looks like lust. But it's it's simply a reflection of our original love for Krishna. So that lust has to be transformed. Lust has to be transformed back into our pure love for Krishna. See, the love is there, it's simply covered, so it has to be uncovered. So that process, this is the whole process of Krishna consciousness. Cetodarpanamajanam. Cleansing the heart, cleansing of the heart of all that lust that is there. It begins at that point. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission begins at this point. Cetodarpanamajanam, cleansing the heart. Every time you chant Hare Krishna, you're cleansing the heart. During devotional service, you're cleansing the heart. Every time you're thinking about Krishna, working for Krishna, meditating, it's all cleansing processes. Actually, all processes of self-realization are more or less purifying processes. Karma, Gyan, Yoga, it's all more purified. Do your work, karma, nicely, and you'll become purified. And then you can become a Jnani. Become good Jnani and purified by Jnana, you can become a yogi, become purified, and you can become in that purified position, then you can understand your position as a servant of Krishna. And that exchange of love is there. So that is bhakti. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu begins at this point, that we are the eternal servants of Krishna. And that is our natural constitutional position. So when we engage in activities meant to please Krishna, it cleanses our hearts and revives our original consciousness. That is why the holy name is so glorious. It's the Yuga Dharma, the Yuga Avatar is the holy name. It descends as, holy name descends as the Yuga Dharma, Harinam Sankirtan. And every time you chant Krishna's name, even unconsciously, you become purified. Everywhere you are reading that and hearing that you become purified simply by chanting the holy names of Krishna. And it's a fact. Because when you chant, now the soul is covered by so many different layers of moila, dirty things, unwanted things. It's covered. That is our original love for God is there. So when we chant Krishna's name and we hear Krishna's name, then that takes one of the coverings off. So every time we chant Krishna's name or do Krishna services, removing one covering. So that means one covering, we're getting closer to the real soul and Krishna. The soul is there, super soul is there, in the heart together. So every time we chant the Lord's holy name, Hare Krishna, then a little bit of that lust is gone, one layer of lust is gone. So when we're chanting Hare Krishna, layer after layer after layer, there's many, many layers of lust there. That's coming off. So it's a fact that when you chant Hare Krishna one time, you become purified. That's a fact. One layer has come off, that means you're closer to your love to Krishna. Every time you chant Hare Krishna, you're becoming purified. And when it's purified, then you can, the holy name will reveal. The holy name will reveal himself as being non-different than Krishna. The sound vibration of the holy name is Krishna. It's non-different than Krishna. And you can perceive that. The presence of God when you are chanting Hare Krishna, you can perceive his presence, the presence of God in the heart. That is called Nama realization. The holy name reveals it. Then after that, Nam, Rupa, the holy name reveals the form of the Lord in the heart. Whatever your Lord you worship, he becomes revealed in your heart. Rupa. Then after Rupa is Guna. Then the holy name reveals his different qualities. So you can perceive his different qualities. Krishna's body, it's so soft and delicate. Even he's walking through the forest and the blade of grass just runs across his foot. It leaves a white line because his body is so delicate and tender. You can touch that body of Krishna, the sense. You can hear the sweet words of Krishna. You can smell the fragrances. It's sandalwood based and all those other fragrances. You can smell all these. So all these different senses, gunas, different qualities of Krishna, the holy name manifests the different qualities. And then finally, Nama Rupa Guna Leela. Leela, the holy name will reveal the Leela of Krishna. So this is the progression of chanting Hare Krishna. The holy name first reveals himself as Nama, then Rupa, then Guna, then Leela. And you can enter into that Leela and serve in that atmosphere of Paladini potency, loving exchange. Tomorrow is Paladini potency, Garuda Pandit. He is the manifestation of that Paladini, but the pleasure-giving potency. Our ultimate goal is to reach that atmosphere, Paladini potency, where everybody is acting with this loving reciprocation. Paladini potency. This is where we belong. So in this atmosphere then Krishna, as the holy name, reveals himself as Nam, Rupa, Guna, Leela. That is our perfection in chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Here's another question. I have a question. Understanding that material and physical lust is doomed to lead to unhappiness, how can Krishna consciousness replace the joy of a human connection. Yeah, it's talking about how we can replace the pleasure and joy of human connection. But yes, undoubtedly there is connection there. That example given is just like a hoof print of a calf in the mud. That little hoof print of a cup of water. It's water is there, but it's just a little cup, it's just a little hoof print. Compared to the whole ocean of loving exchange, loving bhakti to Krishna. It's just, yeah, the little bit of pleasure is there, but it's, who is it? Bhajahure Mana. Govinda Das. He's singing that song, Bhajahure Mana. Water is there in the desert, but only that much. It's there, it must be there, it's in the desert, but what use is it? Right? One little sip and it's finished. So really, what use of it? But water is there, so similarly. Little bit of happiness is in this material world, culminating in sex pleasure, but it's nothing. It's in comparison to the bliss of bhakti. That is the real soul. What's the word? It's just a little bit of like a little bit of happiness compared with that. In the other shlokas, Krishna says that, he sees everything as equal, the dog eater, stones and gold are equal, and he's seated like, one unconcerned, he's peaceful, tranquil. And Krishna says, yes, this is indeed happiness. The yogi, he is in this position, he's realizing all these things that Krishna says, this is indeed happiness. He's risen above the modes of material nature. He can see everything equally, and actually as Brahman, he can realize Brahman. He's understanding what is Brahman, and therefore he becomes equipoised to each. He sees the dog eater. So Krishna's going on and he's praising. Yes, this is certainly pleasure, Krishna says. This is certainly pleasure, certain happiness. But what kind of happiness? Happiness arising from Bhagavad Gita. Happiness arising from, what word does Prabhupada use? Happiness that is derived from, I forgot. Happiness derived from the forget. Happiness derived from material, it means like from material happiness. This is indeed happiness deriving from absence. This is right. This is indeed happiness arising from absence of material happiness. So pleasure is nothing but absence. The absence of the bliss of Brahman is simply the aspect of the absence of sense pleasure. The absence of sense pleasure. That's right. So that's what this great happiness that they're calling the great Brahman. The Upanishads are talking about the great Brahman, the Ananda, Bliss. It's everybody's glorifying this. But what is it actually? It's just absence of suffering. That's right. It's simply absence of suffering. Krishna says, this is indeed great. It's such a good happiness derived from absence of suffering. So what is that real happiness? Absence of suffering, that's all. So Krishna is very being sarcastic when he says, this is indeed happiness. Yes. What kind of arising from material cessation of material miseries. So it's not real happiness, it's just the miseries have stopped and you feel a little bit happy. So there is joy a little bit of joy in this material world like sex life, but it's just for a few moments you may feel a little bit happy, but it's just the sensation of a sensation of, forgot the words now. Anyway, I hope you get that. Someone else is but there was no name here. So we can't replace the happiness in the material world. But the more we engage in Vaidhi Sadhana-Bhakti, the more the heart becomes purified, the more we have Ananda, that aspect becomes also revealed more and more. So that replaces the so-called pleasure of the material world. We have to replace it with something better. So with a little bit of happiness. So we have to be very diligent, very strictly follow everything nicely. And then upon leaving the body, then Krishna will, whatever state you remember when you're leaving this body, you will attain that state without fail. So we are practicing chanting Hare Krishna, remembering Krishna. When there's danger, very rapidly remember Krishna, then Krishna will take us back home, back to Godhead. There we have unlimited Ananda, unlimited bliss. We have to be tolerant one lifetime, give one lifetime to Krishna, be tolerant, and at the end of this life we go back to God. Millions of lives we've been caught on this samsara business, so give one life to Krishna. Just give one life to Krishna. And that will be the last life. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Krishna and milk. Hare Krishna.